Today we're going to talk about a weird economic strategy that, no, not Trump, but NRG used in their game against Crew. And it starts off with them losing a pistol round.
Verner's got to keep an eye onto it. Shock darts are put over. Dart to the side as well. A lot to deal with. He can't quite handle it. What a util just being thrown in his face. Up from heaven, Mazzino smoked it away from that angle. Here. Trying to flip that sight around, but it's still a lot to clear. No one is accounting for the heaven drop out. Weaving in and out. It's all Ethan now. He's going to do a lot from that spot, but Mada again into this spot here. Rattling away with the ghost. It's not enough.
So yeah, not a great pistol round there from NRG, but then they would come to the second round, and normally, of course, in a second round, it's a free round, right? You know, no one buys anything, it's just a bunch of classics. Well, no, because NRG, they decided to force, as you can see. They've gone for full stingers, even a full shield here on Matter as well, and they're going to go for this round and try and win this round against Cruise By. Now, in my video yesterday, you saw an example of a weird situation where NRG won a pistol round, lost the second round, and then forced. And in that video, I kind of said, like, you know, this isn't a good force because in that example, Crew had full rifles. But you can see when you force in a second round here, Cruise By, you know, Guardian Light Shields, Bulldog Light Shields, just a Ghost here, you know, a Spectre, like, you can win against them. The real threat, of course, here is the Outlaw, because 4 of the players on NRG, you know, do have Light Shields, and I do think that, particularly in this year, we have seen a lot more Outlaw buys than maybe we did even last year, right? And so, last year, I was still a proponent of forcing. I still thought it was probably a decent idea a lot of the time. I think now you are going to run into more problems, though, because people are actually buying the Outlaw now, right? It's actually quite common to see Outlaws basically anytime the opponent suspects you of having light shields or being on an eco. You will see some Outlaws, and as you're going to see in this one, again, it doesn't go that well for NRG this round. You see, you know, they try to go for this weird A-B split kind of idea, it seems, you know, running with the Neon through. It doesn't go well for them, and we can just play this quite a bit further ahead because Verno eventually will plant, but then he will die. So they did get the spike down, they got a couple kills, but again, not a successful round for NRG. But that in and of itself is not interesting. Whilst forcing is a pretty rare occurrence these days, you know, teams have been forcing for a long time. No, what they did that I think was interesting is what they did in the third and fourth rounds of the game. Because in the third round of the game, we're in this situation, of course, it's 2-0 to Crew, and Crew's By looks like this, right? They're starting to get some rifles online. Obviously, they're keeping kind of some of the guns that, you know, they had from the prior round. But now NRG, their buy looks like this. And what's interesting about this is you might think, oh, well, obviously they're just saving because, you know, they just lost their fourth round buy. But if you look at this, there's a couple interesting notes here, right? One is the FNS as a sheriff, right? I mean, why don't we just give this to this guy? I don't know. You know, you be the judge, whatever, right? Whatever. But the second thing is, this is obviously like a massive eco, right? We only have 2 sheriffs, and they did this multiple times, NRG. And that's what's interesting about this, of course, because if NRG were to lose this round, obviously it would be 3-0, and they'd get the full max loss bonus of 2,900, right? So when you look at like some of their credits here, if you start adding 2,900 to this, like Mada here would have like 5,500 credits, right? Which obviously is way more than you need, unless you're buying an op, which they don't, but you know, unless they're buying an op, like multiple players here are going to have way more than you actually need for a full buy, right? Which is weird. You know, it's interesting and it's weird. And so this was my first question of like, this is an interesting decision by NRG, right? To almost save extra credits that they don't necessarily need. Because in this round, I mean, you could still look at, you know, Cruise By here and be like, okay, they've still got a Spectre, right? They got a couple of Guardians. You know, maybe let's just, you know, force sheriffs across the board, right? Which is often what you will see when people go for a forced second round and lose, is this will be kind of all sheriffs with light shields, often a lot of the time. But that is not what NRG decided to go for. Now, in this round, of course, they have no guns, right? And so, again, it's not going to go great for them. You know, they're just going to get destroyed. And crucially there, keep in mind that they do die to an Outlaw. Okay, so Mada dies to an Outlaw. And then if we skip ahead even more here, you're going to see that Som dies to an Outlaw. And, you know, obviously they don't have guns. So it's like whatever, right? They end up losing the round. They only get 1 kill. So, okay. That round, you know, obviously didn't go that well for them, but then what did they do in the fourth round? Well, if we skip ahead to what's going to happen in the fourth round as well, this was NRG's buy. And you can see that, yeah, obviously now we are buying rifles, right? We are buying rifles, as you would expect at this point, but you can see they still have a lot of money behind them, right? Even though we've got our buys in tow, we have a ton of money here still available for NRG, right? And this is the theory behind saving on the round prior, right? That what this means is that as we go forward in kind of these rounds, NRG are now at max loss bonus, right? So they're getting the full 2,900. The thing is, if now they win, or if they lose round 4, because of the money that they've saved for themselves, it means that in round 5, they can buy. To be honest, it probably means no matter what happens in round 5, right? If they lose round 4 and win round 5, they'll be able to buy in round 6. Or if they lose both, they'll be able to buy in round 6. Essentially, what this is saying is, this is somewhat future-proofing themselves. Basically saying, we've got money in the bank here. You know, we're on max loss bonus now. You know, we're in a good spot, essentially, to just keep full buying for, you know, kind of the next crucial kind of gun rounds and as ults are coming online, right? Which is kind of an interesting theory. Now, it has a big problem in this particular case, because here's the thing. I think that what NRG did here was probably the optimal way of playing in like 2023. Right? In 2023, I think you could have done what NRG did in these first 3 rounds, and whether you win, if you win the Force, obviously that's great, but if you lose it, you could do what they did here, and essentially just like full buy every single round. Because back then there was no great threat to the light shield, right? Playing light shields was absolutely optimum back in those days. It still probably was last year because not enough people were buying the Outlaw, but right here it's not, right? And this is the mistake they make, because remember, in that previous round, Kesnet killed them with the Outlaw, right? So they know that an Outlaw is on crew, right? They know that an Outlaw is there, which is why this is a mistake this time, because you do have the money to buy full shields, right? All of these players have the money to upgrade to full shields here. So in my opinion here, this is a mistake by NRG, and kind of goes to show it's one of the fundamental problems I think that a lot of teams can have when it comes to managing the economy, is that often some of these interesting, you know, kind of different economy ideas almost certainly come from the coaching staff and have a very set, direct way of like, this is what we do. And the players don't adapt around the situations that they actually find themselves in, right? Because for instance, in this situation, you would say, you know that they have an Outlaw, 100% guaranteed, you know that. So we should be buying full shields here across the board, right? We have to be able to change that plan, because otherwise we might run into some problems like this.
Doing it a bit further forward.
Wait, that's a breakable trip.
Yeah, it's very breakable, but... Oh my, okay. Listen, Outlaw in hands, a lot of targets onto half arm. It doesn't really matter for Kesnet, apparently. He's all headshots today. Well respected, though. Give up the sight. Dart just tagging up. A few stray bullets as well. Kesnet barely surviving.
Finesse will be so important in this round. There's no trip spotting him out in mid. He's got a great timing to pinch into the back of crew here and win this critical round for NRG.
He's revealed his hands.
Oh, he dinked Kesnet.
A little bit too early! Oh my goodness, the bullet's going all over the place. The paranoia is excellent. And it's just sweeping...